There are promises that live in whispers. Promises not carved in stone, but etched on the human heart with the gentle tools of love and hope. They are the quiet contracts we make in moments of pure magic, when the world seems to hold its breath and anything feels possible. This is the story of one such promise.
A promise made between a fater end à son in the electric midnight air off à Ballpark in 1975.
A promise that would have to travel through decades of heartbreak, and sleep silently in the dark of a drawer waiting for a miracle it was told to believe in. To understand the weight of this vow, you must feel the chill of that October night.
Game C of the 1975 World Series. Fenway Park.
The game is a masterpiece, stretching into the 12th inning. In Section 42, Row AA, a father has brought his wide-eyed 10-year-old son. It is a luxury, a sacrifice. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, it is the boy's first real taste of magic.
And then, Carlton Fisk va vite faire.
The stadium erupts in a primal scream of joy. In that vortex of pure, unadulterated ecstasy, the father looks down. He sees not just a fan, but the future. He sees his own childhood love for this team reflected back at him, magnified tenfold in his son's awestruck eyes. And he leans down. The noise is deafening, but his words are clear, a private island in a public storm. Remember this, he says, his hand firm on the boy's shoulder.
Remember this feeling.
One day, we're going to see them win it all.
I promise you.
The boy nods, not fully understanding the currency of such a promise in a city like Boston. He simply believes. Because his father said it. He saves the ticket stub. A few years later, his father is gone.
The promise become a ghost.
And the ticket stub, that frail piece of colored paper, becomes a sacred relic. It is no longer an admission ticket, it is a certificate of a debt owed by the universe. It is the physical proof of a love that was, and a future that was supposed to be. For 29 years, that ticket stub lived in a drawer. And for 29 years, the man who was that boy carried a second heartbreak within him. He suffered every Red Sox collapse, Bucky Dent's home run in 1978, the slow roller through Bill Buckner's legs in 1986, the soul-crushing home run by Aaron Boone in 2003, with a double grief. His own, and the phantom grief of the father who was spared the agony, but also robbed of the hope. Each loss was a stone added to a tombstone. The promise felt like a beautiful childish lie the world had conspired to expose. Then came October of 2004. The Red Sox, down 3-0 to the New York Yankees. The man, now grown with a life of his own, managed to get a ticket to Game 4 at Fenway. It was, by all accounts, a funeral. A formality before the burial. Before he left his house, he opened the drawer. He took out the ticket stub from 1975, and a small faded photograph of him and his father from that night. He didn't put them in his wallet. He placed them in the breast pocket of his jacket, right over his heart. He was not going to a baseball game. He was going to a séance. He was bringing his father to witness the final merciful end. What happened in that game is the stuff of legend. But for the man in section, it was a personal exorcism. When Dave Roberts stole second base in the 9th inning, he felt the paper in his pocket crinkle. When Bill Mueller's single shot up the middle, tying the game, he clutched his chest. And when David Ortiz won it in the 12th, the roar that left his lungs was 29 years in the making. He didn't go home that night. He sat in his quiet kitchen, the 2 ticket stubs side by side on the table, 1975 and 2004.
The old and the new.
The promise and the first, trembling hint of an answer. For the first time, he dared to think the unthinkable. What if the promise wasn't a lie? What if it was just delayed? The Red Sox, of course, did the impossible.
They came all the way back.
They vanquished the Yankees. And they stormed into the World Series. And by a grace he still cannot explain, the man found himself holding a ticket for Game 4 in St. Louis. The night the Boston Red Sox could end 86 years of suffering. In his pocket, over a heart now pounding with a frantic, fearful hope, were the 2 tickets, the beginning and the bridge. The game was a blur. A 3-0 lead. The final innings ticked down. And then it happened. A ground ball to the pitcher.
Case Fulk.
The underhand toss to first base. The universe held its breath for one final second, and then exploded. Around him, strangers became family, hugging, crying, screaming in disbelieving joy.
The noise was immense. à physical force.
But for the man, time did a strange thing. It slowed. It compressed. The cacophony faded to a distant hum. He slowly, deliberately, reached into his breast pocket. His fingers found the brittle frayed edge of the 1975 ticket stub. He pulled it out, holding it between his thumb and forefinger. He looked at it, then up at the swirling chaos of red and joy on the field. He didn't shout. He didn't jump. He simply closed his eyes, brought the ticket stub to his lips, and whispered words that were carried away by the wind of history, words meant for only one other soul to hear. They did it, Dad. We saw it. The promise is kept. In that silent, monumental moment, 29 years of waiting dissolved. A ghost was laid to rest. A debt was paid in full. This story does not end in 2004. Because promises, once kept, create a new kind of magic. They become legacies. Years later, that man took his own young son to Fenway Park. In his pocket, he did not carry one ticket stub, or two. He carried 3.
1975, 2004. And the fresh, crisp ticket for today's game.
And as they walked through the gates, he told the boy the story. He told him about his grandfather, about a magical night in 1975, about a promise that took decades to fulfill, and about the little piece of paper that held their family's faith safe until it could finally come true. He was no longer just passing on fandom. He was passing on a covenant of hope. He was teaching his son that some loves are worth the wait, that some bonds transcend time, and that miracles, however long they take, are always, always worth believing in.